you pull up your multimedia library, which is the book in MyLab Math, so we can go over different situations and problems when we get there. Okay, so it was x squared minus 6x minus 16. So first of all, this is a trinomial. That's our first step to identify the type of polynomial this is. Then we have to make sure it's in descending order, which it is. Otherwise, we have to rearrange it. And at this point, we have to try a special product. As we know from last time, there are two special products for trinomials, just two for trinomials. Either a plus b squared, which we discussed the other first class, and the other option is this. Well, this is a perfect square, but this is not. So this is not an option, none of them. And the last term cannot be negative. Both these expansions have the last term positive. So this is not an option. Then I have to notice that the leading coefficient is 1. That makes a big difference. At this point, I will try to find two numbers whose product is, can anyone help?
Negative 16.
Negative 16, very good. This is always the product. When the leading coefficient is 1, this is the product of the numbers we need to find, or we are looking for. And then the sum, the same numbers, will have to have the sum, and that is always the case no matter what, even if the leading coefficient is not 1. The sum is always, anyone?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. This is the sum. And now we know the two numbers. Can we find two numbers whose product is negative 16 and whose sum is negative 6? And always remember, we analyze the product first. Because the product is positive, there are two options. Either negative multiplied by negative. Oops, I didn't mean that. Or positive multiplied by positive. But if the product is negative, there is only one option. One must be positive and one must be negative.
Is it negative 2 and 8?
So if I write negative 2 and 8, I'm in trouble. Can anyone explain why we're in trouble with negative 2 plus 8?
Because that'll give you positive 6.
Exactly. So it has to be negative. Very carefully, we have to have this sequence of signs. So then now we are ready to write the final form, the simplified form of this as
X minus 8, x plus 2.
Good. Is this better?
Yes.
Other questions on this? Other questions on this? Anything? Okay. Okay, moving on, let's try and finalize the rest. Here we have some equations. Please feel free to choose, and also an inequality. Please feel free to choose one or two. So then move on to graphing. A lot of this material is in chapter R. A lot of it. So we're not wasting time by reviewing this. Okay, so you can open the document if you cannot see here, and let's choose. Anyone?
We do A.
Okay, so A has 16x cubed equals x. There are many different types of equations. Many different types of equations. We always try to identify the type of equation. Here I was given a polynomial. I first identified it to be a trinomial, and then I went through the steps. The same thing here. When I have an equation to solve, the first thing I have to do is identify the type of equation. I'm going to list several here. Linear, quadratic, polynomial, exponential, logarithmic, rational, radical, absolute value, quadratic in form. At some point in your math career, you heard of these. You've seen them. The sequence of steps is different for each of them. So that's why we need to identify correctly. Which type is this? Can anyone give it a shot?
Would it be exponential?
Very good. Exponential is a base raised to a power that is x. So the base has to be a number. I don't have a number raised to a power of x or y or z or t. So that will be exponential. Is that clear?
Is it polynomial?
Excellent. This is a polynomial equation. What is the degree of the polynomial in this problem? Excellent. Who said that?
I did.
Thank you, Michelle.
I think it's 3.
Excellent. Which means how many solutions we must find? Real, imaginary, I don't care. How many I have to find?
3.
Exactly 3. It's always the degree of a polynomial. If it's a polynomial equation, and degree 3 in this case of this polynomial, we're going to move x to the other side in a minute. We have to find 3 solutions. And of course, we have to set it equal to 0. So we are going to go to many of these. We're going to look at a rational as well, and so on and so forth. Okay? Not all today. Okay, so then we have 16x cubed minus x equals 0. Can anyone tell us the next step?
Would we take x out of the left side?
Very good. We have to. Excellent. Well done. And please remember, we never divide by the variable. Okay? I know some my students, some student or someone would say, okay, just divide by x. It's common. Just divide. No. Never divide by the variable. Of course, the both sides and so on and so forth, by the variable. For 2 reasons. X could be 0 and you cannot divide by 0. We know that. And secondly, you will lose a solution. If you eliminate this and divide by x, you will never find 3 solutions. You will only find 2, and that will be incorrect. Good. What do we have in parentheses? Anyone?
16x.
I love it. You can answer both. Both of you can answer. That is fantastic. As long as you are with me, I don't care. If everyone answers at the same time, it's even better. Good. So now we have to think what to do with 16x squared. That's why we reviewed. Where's my document? Oh, I know. It's right here. That's why we reviewed this. So what do I do? How do I factor 16x squared minus 1?
Wouldn't it be 4x minus 1 and 4x plus 1?
Very good. And remember, if you forget the equal symbol and 0, you are no longer solving. You're just factoring. You're not going to get anything. So please remember, an equation has to have the left-hand side only one equal symbol and the right-hand side. You cannot continue with equals, 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 equals. So just one equal symbol, one left-hand side, one right-hand side. And now, obviously, we have to present those three solutions. We are ready. And while you tell me, I'm going to sip some water. Yes. Who would like to answer?
X equals 0, x equals negative 1/4 and positive 1/4.
Excellent. Thank you, Rita. Do we understand the solutions? Can we move on? Don't be shy.
I get it. Yep.
Okay, everyone? Okay, I'm moving on. Anything else here?
Could we do the inequality, D?
Okay, so let's do D. So 3 minus 7x equal less than 3x plus 6. So this is an inequality. For inequalities, solutions must be presented in interval notation. Solution in interval notation. Okay? So like with everything else, when we move terms around, please try to move away from minus, minus, or plus, plus. You're moving 3x to the other side. The only thing that changes is its sign. I'm moving 3 to the other side. The only thing it changes is its sign. Negative 3x minus 7x, negative 10x less than 6 minus 3, which is 3. What do we do next?
Divide by negative 10.
So we divide both sides by negative 10. What happens now?
The inequality flips.
Very good. So when we divide both sides of an inequality or multiply both sides of an inequality by a negative number, we flip the symbol from less than to greater than. Do we all remember that? Do I need to explain why?
If you could, that would help.
So 2 is less than 10. Agreed?
Right?
Okay, now let's decide to multiply both sides by negative 1. Can I still keep the same symbol?
That makes sense.
So the reason is that negative 2 becomes now greater than negative 10. So this happens only when we divide or multiply by a negative number. Is that okay, everyone? Okay. So in interval notation, we will write that x is in, you can skip that if you want. I prefer it so we know what it means. Can anyone give us the interval notation then?
It's from negative 3/10 to positive infinity.
Good. So what type of symbols we use?
The infinity is a soft bracket and the other side's a hard bracket.
Careful. Only when there is
yeah.
Only when there is an equal symbol. So then we have no equal symbol, so that's also negative 3/10 comma infinity. This is the interval notation. Any questions on this? Okay. Real quick, let's look at also a rational equation, just to refresh your memory on that. We're not going to have a lot to work with it, but and then we'll look at graphs. So here's a rational equation. So far we have no difficulties with linear, I'm sure. Quadratic, it's pretty much similar with polynomial, but of course it only has 2 solutions. So logarithmic, we're going to talk about this and the exponential later on in our course. We're going to look now at a rational. Okay. So here is 2x over x minus 3 minus 6 over x equals 18 divided by x squared minus 3x. Okay. Again, we're not going to see a lot of rational equations in our course, but I'm making a point that is very important for what we are covering, though, in this class. Okay, so anyone can tell us how to start, what to do?